Alright, today it took a long on NQ here. So let's get into it. Basically, coming in to the week, we had Monday, which was a half day. So you'll see here that there is no Monday candle. However, we did trade and we actually put in a bit of a high. And then coming into Tuesday, we had this drop off. So before I get into that, on the daily again, what we've been watching, we had the liquidity get taken out here. There was the SMT that formed on a higher time frame basis at this November low down here, with YM running at ES and NQ have not. We've been bullish since last week, trading above this SIBI, inverting it, showing bullish price action off of that. Also inverting this SIBI here, and I actually use this to gain analysis in the lower time frame. But also going into ES, you'll see a little more bullish to the upside, and this was probably the correct one too long today, so I'll get into that as well. But same thing on ES, inverting that SIBI, running out this liquidity, holding consequent encroachment of this discount BISI here, inverting this smaller SIBI up here, overall showing large displacements, trading down into bullish order flow and continuing higher. So daily we were bullish. Now on the hourly chart here, I want to just bring over my analysis from last night. Essentially, what I had here is coming into Tuesday Asia session, we had this big dump off here, and that ended up running out, all the liquidity that was stacked below the short-term low formed on Monday's half day of trading. We also trade into this hourly BISI here. We held the daily inversion for value gap. Bodies held consequent encroachment of that on this hourly chart. And then we also were engaging that daily down close candle, making that bullish institutional order flow right here. So we had all that happened inside of this wick right here on Tuesday, trading down into that inversion bullish order flow. So on the hourly chart, basically what I was looking at is I was expecting, once all this liquidity here got taken out, I was expecting to see a bullish overnight session, which we ended up getting. So here is 1900. We then reversed. London took us higher, but it did not take out prior day high yet, which was nice to see. And then coming into AM session, what I really wanted to see was I wanted to see a short-term grab on liquidity, which it did just like this, and then for it to continue higher. Now again, the added confluences are things like SMT, trading below midnight open, and things of that nature. So coming into the day, as I mentioned, I was keeping an eye on this hourly inversion here, and I also was expecting, or not expecting, but ideally wanting price to trade lower before it went higher. If price were to just trade up, take out prior day high, I was going to sit on my hands and potentially wait for a slight shorter term retracement to then get involved and look to target this high up here. This is kind of my higher time frame target. So what ended up happening was 9 a.m. came and we had the large candle lower. However, we closed inside of the hourly inversion here. Closed inside of that. So I was still thinking we could see higher prices from here. We ran London low here, whereas the other indices had not. Hadn't even run this low. BLCES, being that it was more bullish, hadn't even run this low, and just engaging the hourly inversion. And then YM, been the leader of the pack thus far, was actually taking out prior day highs. So we did have a small bit of SMT at prior day high, but I was bullish overall. So I wasn't looking at it as a reversal point. Again, because I thought we would take out prior day high and eventually trade up to here. So as we start to trade lower, we'll go into a 15-minute here. Basically, I was looking for a shift. So if I go to actually the 10 a.m. candle here, this 10 a.m. candle was tricky because we actually ended up digging even lower. However, there's a few things that I saw that kept me interested. First of all, SMT had formed. Second of all, we ended up closing the 10 a.m. candle back inside the hourly inversion. And we also tagged OTE from this range low to this range high. So all that being said, if we go down to our 15-minute chart now, you'll see that after we had this big dump at the beginning at 10 o'clock, we had the big surge up at 10:15, and this ended up shifting us on the 15-minute chart, change state delivery back to the upside. However, what it also did is I was actually looking at it on the 5-minute. So I was looking after we engage OT here, we had the push up, and as price was trading above the opening price of this 10:05 candle, that's where I actually ended up buying. It may have been a premature buy, but I was okay with it because I was in with one contract risking this low, and just in case we were going to eventually or run quickly, I wanted to be involved in the trade, and I was always already in my mind looking to add if there was any opportunity to add within this expansion leg. So not only was the 15-minute confirming by the time we hit 10:15, you then had these candles wicking lower, closing above, continuing to close above as it wicked down into this breaker, into this order block, and then on the 5-minute, same kind of thing, wicking down into this breaker, but holding it, bodies holding it perfectly. Once I started to see that, I thought we were in pretty good shape. Now you can see ES at the time had changed its state delivery here. And again, holding the hourly inversion much better. So this was actually the indices to take the long on. We had the SMT at London low, and it did actually end up coming down and running this, never trading below midnight. But that also shows us a good signature that this was the more bullish one because NQ had. So after getting in within the 10-25-minute candle here, I had my stop at this low, and I was looking to target prior day high. So at this point, I was looking to obviously get us up into this high up here, but I knew I wanted to add, so I figured that once we added, I was definitely going to move my stop up, and then I could start to piece one off at prior day high. So this was essentially what the trade was looking like, and then as we started to finally expand inside of the lunch hour, I ended up adding inside of this 5-minute fair value gap right here, At that point, I moved my stop up below the swing low here, the swing low here. I was still within risk, and I had plans to then piece out one of my contracts above this high, and then the last one at prior day high. The reason for that was because ES had actually already taken this high up here. So I figured if we were going to reverse or just not see any more upside, I'd wanted to make sure that we weren't going to take a full loss all the way back down to this low. So I moved my stop up here, added here after that, and then we actually had a beautiful expansion inside of lunch, running for this high, took my first partial above this high. At that point, I then moved my stop break even, and I let it run for the rest of the day. After around 3 o'clock hit, I pushed my stop up pretty aggressively below this low. For most of the day, I had it roughly around here, which was, this is actually a 15-minute inversion here. So I had it right around this level here because I saw the 15-minute breaker here. So I figured if price could stay within the upper half of this breaker, also respecting this hourly fair value gap, putting my stop somewhere around this low area, still within, well above a break-even trade. I thought we could be safe, but as we got closer to 3 o'clock, and I had to exit my trade due to the prop firm rules, I then shoved my stop right up under here in hopes that maybe the final hour macro would surge us up to the top here. But what ended up happening is we got wicked out just towards the end by a tick, and then right at market close we actually went up and took out that priority high. So unfortunately we did get stopped out a little bit here. We did get stopped out on a final partial here, and we weren't able to capture the 80 handle run at the very end, but that's just how it goes sometimes.